What is up, YouTube? The Zelda Duelist is back at you with another spicy video. And before I actually get down to talking about video and plans I have for the channel, I just want to say thank you, and a huge thank you to everyone who's been watching so far. Especially the 1,000 people that have seen the lightsworn video and have liked on it. And it is my most viewed video compared to anything else I've ever done, and my most liked compared to anything else. It's genuinely made me, as a content creator, so proud and happy that I'm creating such great content for people like you who are watching at home. And I do wish that I can make more content like this more frequently. I've just got the issue of money, obviously, to get more cards, so I can't do that constantly, but also waiting on postal cards to arrive, which I'll get to later. But I do want to say thank you to everyone who's supported so far and who's been there for the channel. Get on with this video before I get too sidetracked. Thank you guys. This series I was going to start once I've done my deck profile. But I'm still waiting for some cards to arrive. Not until my deck's bad currently, I'm just waiting for like a couple more cards to arrive to power boost it a bit further, being stuff like Rindbrum. Don't have one yet. It's arriving in the post soon. And I realised I've not made content for a bit, I'll be honest. So here we are. It's time to do content again. And when I'm scrolling through YouTube for branded stuff, you always see the combos, you see the test hands, you see the deck profiles. No one explains why you play the cards. They think they're weird text choices, but if it's something like Luma, branded fusion, branded opening, yeah, Bush burial, right? Something that's familiar. Fallen of Almaz numbers, Cartesia numbers. It's pretty standard, isn't it? Oh, because it's standard, or that is standard. They explain their weird text choices because they're playing, say, Dark Magician, or they're playing Borrelo Furious Dragon, but they don't explain why they're playing stuff like Branded Fusion. Yeah, it's obvious to a competitive player, but someone starting new, you need to learn it. Or someone who's never touched Branded before, you need to learn why. And that's why I'm here. In this series, we'll start off with more basic Branded stuff, so please, competitive players, stay with me. We'll get to some of the stuff you might not know, or later down the line. But for now, we are going to start off with the one card combos. And cards to get you to it. So what we'll be covering, it'll be covering what they do, how many copies of, you own, why they're so good in branded Despia, or Bestial, or pure branded, is something we'll cover. Starting off with the card of the deck, Branded Fusion. This card, it's very similar to Shadow Fusion, Neos Fusion, Red Eyes Fusion, in the fact that it'll let you fusion summon from the deck. However, the difference between Branded Fusion and, let's say, Shadow Fusion, is that or Red Eyes Fusion, is that its restriction is so minor, it doesn't even inconvenience you. The downside to Branded Fusion, and I'll use downside in quotation marks here, is that you're locked into fusion monsters in the fusion deck. That's really good and really simple to get out of. And to elevate it, you can fuse materials for fusion monster dimensions of Fallen of Albaz using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as a material. So, the 2 ones you mainly summon are Lubellion and Albion. What can these cards summon for you, though? Well, I'll send your comments further. Well, then, let me just show you some of the fusion monsters you can get. You can get the branded boss monster, Mirror Jade. I do not have the Starlight, do not question, because I'm not that much. I do not own that much money. You get Draxpelia, your basic fusion negate. Tax Dragon. In archetypal Flame Wingman. Occasionally starting Venom. That's a super poly target, right? Grand Greekanol, which you don't usually own, but all Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, my most powerful card in my opinion, I own, and one of my favourite cards of all time. Dragoon best card. All of these are possible because of these 2 cards right here. And all of them, and they're all possible because of Branded Fusion itself. Now, the downside of Branded Fusion, you can get Ashed. That's the biggest flaw of it. And you can only run 3 copies max. If I could, I'd run 10 copies. Or maybe I do already. Now, you see, I'm counting copies of Branded Fusion as this, as a card you can use to search for it, and I'll get to them now. But remember, this is your heart and soul of the deck. You only run 3. And then Branded initiates all your combos. You can play without it due to cards such as Blazing Cartesia, but we'll get to those later in ways you can play around Ash, or without Branded Fusion. What can you do? Put Fusion there. The best normal summon in the deck, it's a Luma. Now, Luma, his price is going up. So if you're going to want to play Brandon, get him as soon as you can from the Ghost in the Past. It's the cheapest variant. If you want to go for max money, I'm so sorry for you, because the ultimate rare Luma is so expensive. But anyway, with a Luma, when it's normal or special summons, especially when it comes up later, and you can add a Brandon spell trap from your deck to hand. Simple, right? Well, that's the normal or special summon effect. When he's in grave, he has a different effect, where when you destroy a monster, when your opponent destroys or removes, what I should state, a fusion monster you control by battle, card effect, whatever, you can target a monster they control, negate it, then revive the Aluba. Can't then search, unfortunately. It's a 1 Aluba effect per turn, and only one that turn effect, which sucks, but so more than enough to interrupt that opponent's actor's code talker that's been plaguing you that past turn. Aluba is 3 copies, and it helps Brandon because, well, as it says, add any Brandon spell trap. It's very handy to get your hands on. And always 3 copies of. Never cut down to 2. Brandon Opening. This is a spell card that that has no cost, technically. But to have its effect reads, discard a card, then take a Despia monster from your deck, add it to your hand, or special summon in defense. This obviously can be a Luma, or any of your other Despias if you want to go down that route. I have had a couple times where to save time, to win in time, I've had to summon Ad Libitum to get a bit of a power boost to my monsters. Moments like that, it makes I prefer not to get a Luma, but that's very rare. And this card can give protection to your fusion monsters when in grave by shooting itself when they're meant to be destroyed. Now, copy-wise, you're playing 2, you're playing 3, generally 3, because it's a good side deck option in something like evenly matched, Harpy's Feather Duster, whatever you're running on your side. Opening, that's generally a good option, unless you're playing a Lava Golem. Now, I personally will be playing Lava Golem. In Lava Golem, I recommend keeping a couple Brandon Opening, maybe even just 1, because then you can't normal summon, which becomes a bit of an issue for you. But yeah, opening, obviously, it's a great to do your Aluba, which then gets you your rest of your combos, alongside giving protection to your fusion monsters, which the deck is all about. I don't want to play Aluba, you say. What other normal summons could I play? Well, there's 2 we got at the total. First one is Springen's Kit, which is more searchable than the other, in my opinion. Or, in fact, actually. Springen's Kit, when it's normal or special summon, you can add a Brandon spell trap from your deck, graveyard, or banish zone to your hand, and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, you can get Astral Impump with this. That means you can recycle your Brandon fusions from your grave. It's really handy. And if you have a monster that mentions full of mammals in your field or grave, search this card for free. In a budget Albaz Brandon deck, even, you play 3 copies. End of. No arguments. In full power, I recommend 1 or none. Kit, but unfortunately, I wish it was more playable than it is. It's really good, but Aluba is just far better. The other card I'm referring to, it's Keeper of Dragon Magic. Now, most Brandon decks aren't playing this. You can play this as a bit of spice, and I've seen decks work with it. Hell, Google Rev's cards at some point in his Playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Properly series. He's running it as his main combo starter, other than Aluba. Aluba, there you go. Because it's Dragon, it's listing its combos for him. And that's fair. Keeper initiates with extra combos, that's fair for you. My list, I'll be playing, and a lot of other lists, they're not playing it. So, yeah. Keeper, when it's normal summoned, or special summon even, you discard a card for cost, and a polymerization normal spell from your hand, or a fusion normal spell from your hand. Generally, this deck will be either polymerization in some odd scenario you need it, or Brandon fusion. In a budget build, you play 3. Full power, play none. Simpler, in a budget build, it gets you your Brandon fusion. It's just budget Aluba. Otherwise, you can't play it. It's not good for you. Yeah, so remove these guys for first. I'm supposed to go on Aluba and Kit. These are obviously your best normal summons. How can you get your hand in them? Well, searching wise, anyway, there isn't opening. There's 2 monsters that'll be get to them. For Aluba, it's a card called Despia Tragedy. When Tragedy is sent from the hand or field to... No, sorry, hand or field. When it's into the graveyard or it's banished by a card effect, you can add to your hand any Despia monster, being Aluba. Or you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a brand intel trap in your graveyard, set it to your field. Again, I said all there because you can't use both effects in the same turn, or it'd be a bit busted. But again, it's like it's kit, in fact, it will recycle your brand intels and traps for further combo extension on your opponent's turn. Mercuria is another great card. Unlike Tragedy, which recycles, Mercuria is an in-archetypal hand trap, meaning if you play cards like Branded and Lost, you can search for Mercuria off that, which will negate a monster effect as long as you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz. Mercuria reads that if it's banished, you can add Fallen of Albaz or any monster that mentions it except Mercuria to your hand, being kit. Now this leads to the big question: how do I send them to the grave or banish them? Well, there are 3 main spell cards you're running to do this, other than opening for Tragedy. First one only works for Tragedy, I'm afraid, and it's Foolish Burial. You've never seen Foolish before. Where are you? Where have you been? Foolish Burial is a limited card, and it simply states, send 1 monster from your deck to the grave. Simple, gets your Tragedy activated, done. Full power branded, it gets you plenty of other combos set up, potentially with the Bestial Rebellion, Dark Magician in some instances, but for now, we'll say it's just for Tragedy. Tragedy is a 1 copy of, or 2 copy of, depending on your Despia numbers or your preference. And this is a 1 through 3 copy of, due to your own personal preference. Again, I play 2 personally. I find 2 to be the best amount. That's just me personally. The other cards you can play work for both in Gold Sarcophagus and Allure of Darkness. Gold Sark is a classic card. You can banish a card, any card from your deck, face up, and in 2 turns, you add it to your hand. Now, you banish Mercuria Tragedy, you get their effect activated. Done and dusted. And this card is limited, you can play 1. Allure of Darkness is interesting, in fact, it's a bit of a gamble in some hands. So draw 2, and then banish a Dark, or you're forced to discard your entire hand. Obviously, most of the deck is dark or light, so sometimes when you have just the lights, you're a bit, no, this isn't looking good for me. But in some instances, you've got like your Mercuria, your Tragedy, and you can just banish them to draw cards and then search. I personally play Allure of Darkness at 2 copies. If you're going to play Allure of Darkness, you would play it at 2 copies, 3 copies, or you're not playing Allure of Darkness, you're playing the Fright for Patchwork instead. Which again is understandable. Oh, and as a heads up, Tragedy also activates a Brand Infusion. I thought I mentioned that. And these are the cards you get as a one card combo starter. All of these cards. So, as a recap, you send to grave or banish Tragedy to search for Aluba, to search for Brand Fusion. It's basic, right? You banish your Mercuria through Allure of Darkness Gold Sarcophagus to get Springan's Kit, to get Allure of Brand Fusion, but losing a card in your hand. You, in a budget build, will normal summon your Keeper of Dragon Magic, discarding a card to search for your Brand Fusion, but only in budget builds. You don't play this. You activate your Brand Opening, discard a card, summon Aluba, search Brand Fusion, like that. Uncost non-summon Aluba. All because you need Brand Fusion in your hand at all times, because it's your best card. That was a very much dumbed down version of what I've explained in more detail, but I do think it's very valid for obviously this list. And that's it for the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. This is the first installment of the series. I believe next time I might be covering combo extenders or the more defensive options. And I'll count extenders as cards you can do to play through Ash, or the Lost Package, or the Despias you can play. But until then, I wish you a great evening, or morning, or afternoon, or night, whenever you're watching this. And that at some point in the future, you pick up Branded. It's a great deck, it's fun. And once again, I thank everyone who supported me so far. Till next time, cheerio.